Hi and welcome back. In this episode, we'll tweak Bootstrap default theme a little bit, just to make it a little bit more interesting to work with. I personally have much more joy when I work on something similar to actual design. Of course, it's going to be very simple, but we'll learn how to customize Bootstrap framework with SCSS variables. First, we'll create top navigation bar, and we'll introduce our first Vuex getter, isAuthenticated, which we'll use to render menu for authenticated users. And we'll create loading spinner component and register it as global component so we can use it across all our application. So let's get started. So let's add top navigation bar right here at the top. So for that, right now I'm in BG Tracker View project. I'm gonna open it. And let's go to app component here. And here's where I just want to have the navigation bar. So I will call it navigation bar like that. I need, of course, to import it. So I will have the navigation bar from, let's say, layout navigation bar. And then I need to define this component as a dependency for this one. So I will define components and I will say navigation bar like this. Let's save it. So now we need to create this navigation bar. So I'm going to go to layout navigation bar.view. Here we go. So here, just to save us time, I will just copy and paste the navigation template. I took this markup from the documentation of the Bootstrap view. So we have the navigation bar, Navbar, that is toggleable on medium size. Then we have the toggle component that points to this one that will be collapsed on the small screens. And that's it. And here we have the brand. So very simple stuff. Inside of the Navbar here, we have my games as the link for now to the homepage. So this item here, my games, that assumes that the user is authenticated. So we need to render this particular navbar only for authenticated users. And for that, we're going to use getter. So let's go to store.js. And here I will define new object, getters. And inside of it, I will just define isAuthenticated getter that takes state. And we're going to return the Boolean representation of the state user ID. So if it's null, it will be false. If it's anything else, like integer in our case, that would be true. That's it. This is our getter. So now we need to go back to navigation bar and we need to import this getter inside of here as the computed property. And we can do it with the help of map getters helper that we import from Vuex. And now here I can define the computed property and just deconstruct this map getters and specify that I want to have isAuthenticated. And now I have isAuthenticated computed property. So if we go to browser and we go to the view here and to the Vuex, you can see that isAuthenticated getter is here and it is true. And even more, if we go to the components and we go to the navigation bar, you will see that we have Vuex bindings and isAuthenticated equals to true. So I can use it in my component. Going back to editor, and let's just add it right here. We'll have vif isAuthenticated. Let's save it, go back to browser, no changes whatsoever. But if we change, for example, our local storage here, our token, let's say to 2, and reload the page, you can see that there are no games here because user is not authenticated. Let's go back to 1. Cool, now we have our beautiful default sidebar here. So let's change the theme and make it a little bit more epic and enterprisey. Okay, so first thing that I want to do, I want to change the font. I like this Poppins font a lot, so you can go to the fonts Google and search for Poppins. So we're going to use it. I'm going to click here on the select font and we're going to use just Google CDN for that. And we want to customize it to include maybe light, maybe regular, and everything until maybe 700 bold. Okay. So now if we go to empt, I just can copy this and I need to paste it in my index.html file. So go into editor, let's go to index.html. I'm just going to paste it right here. Of course, we can change it if we do not use anything of it. We just can delete it or add new ones. Okay, so now we need to set up CSS to use this font. For that, let's go to style.scss that we created before. And all our variables that we want to define, we need to do above import. Everything else we can do after import. So let's set the font family. For this, I need to redefine the font family sans serif option. And I just set it to Poppins and set it as a default. And I can specify other fonts, but I used it from the Google, and yeah, that's good enough. So if now I save the page, let's go back to browser. You can see that font has been changed. Nice. We're using Poppins now. So now to the colors. I want to change the default colors. And again, for the sake of time saving, I'm just going to copy and paste it here. So basically we have here the different colors, the different shades of gray, and then we redefine the colors themselves. And the most important thing is these two objects, the colors, where we redefine the colors inside of Bootstrap, and then the theme colors, where we redefine the theme colors of the Bootstrap. So we have our own primary, our own secondary, etc. After that, I define the body background to be a little bit grayish as well, and body color, not just the black, but again, just the dark gray color. And I will supply this code as a comment to this episode. So let's save it and let's have a look. Okay, you can see that we have the background, nothing else changed because we didn't do anything to change, for example, our navigation bar. So let's do this. We're going back to editor, let's go to navigation bar, and here let's define the variant for navigation bar to be primary. Let's save it, going back, and you can see this is our primary color, very bright red. And yeah, in board games and role-playing games, they like this bright red color, so that's why I chose it. But the text is actually black. That's not good, but we can easily fix it with the type for navigation bar set to dark, and that just inverts the color. So when I save it and go back, it's white. Nice. Another thing I want to do is to make it a little bit bigger. And that actually took me some time to find the proper variable to change. So let's go to style, and to change the navigation bar, I'm just gonna top it here. I need to change the variable navbar dash brand padding y. So, and this just creates the padding around the y-axis. So let's say 15 pixels will do, okay? And you can see it became bigger. Nice. Of course, this gray background is not our actual background. All of our UI will be composed mainly from cards, like I'm doing in JS Full Stacker. So let's add such cards to the main page to have a look. So I'm just going to app component, and here instead of this just simple welcome, I'm going to create first of all container, and I will also add the margin 4 to it. And inside of this container, I will have card with card body. And here, let's say h1 welcome. Save it, go back, and here we go. This is our cards. But what I want to do, I want to get rid of these round corners, and I want to get rid of the borders. So basically, I want to have the white box here. Easy enough. Going back to style. And let's define the card border width, and we're gonna set it to 0 pixels, and we're gonna write the default. And card border radius, also 0 pixels. So I'm gonna save it, and now you can see it's just a box. And we can compose our application from these different boxes, actually. Okay, that will do for now. We'll add other customizations as we need them, but most of the styling will happen per component basis. Hey there, just a quick self-promotion. If you like what I do, find it valuable and want to support my work, I encourage you to go to jsfullstacker.com. There you can become a member for just $13 per month, and you'll get access to all content that I've already published, plus 5 new episodes each week, and access to Slack community where you can ask questions and get updates. You can cancel anytime, no questions asked. Link in the description. And now, back to the video. So the last thing that I want to do, I want to create centered loading spinner component, which we'll use everywhere where we need to show that loading is happening. So for example, like here in our app component, when we're loading it, I want to display here this loading component. And we'll use Epic Spinners library for it. So let's go back to terminal and I will just yarn add Epic Spinners. Okay, done. So let's go back here and let's create in our components global, and the components in the global folder will be registered globally. And I will call it centered loader.view. Okay, so first of all, I want to import the spinner. I will use half circle spinner and I will import it from Epic Spinners. And of course, you just can Google Epic Spinners and have a look at what kind of spinners are available for you. And I need to add it here as the components, half circle spinner. Okay, now I can use it in my template. So here, let's add class, and I want to center it, so I'm gonna use flags box, and Bootstrap 4 has this flags helper classes, so I will define it as dflags, and I will use justify content center, and that will just center it horizontally, right? And then I will add to it empty5 to just create some margin above the spinner. After that, I just use the Epic Spinner, so I will have half circle spinner, and I need to define some options here. So the first one is the animation duration. I will get it to the second, so it's not too fast. The second one, important one, is the size, and let's say it will be about 30 pixels. And the last one is the color, so I will just copy and paste color here, and that's it. I'm just gonna close this thing here. So the last step is to register this component globally. For that, I go into the main.js file. Here I need to import it, so I will do centered loader from components global centered loader. And now I can just register it with the help of view.component. I will call it centered loader, centered loader. And that's it. Now let's go to app component and let's try it out. I will just put it here, centered loader, and you can see that I do not load it or require it or import it anywhere. I just can use it right away anywhere because I registered it globally. So now if I go back here, you can see that we have very nice loading indicator. Cool. Okay, so let's go back and let's just do it here. So instead of this loading stuff, we'll have our centered loader. Good. Now it happens so fast that we do not see it happening, but yeah, it flicked there. Nice. Okay, that looks better. It will not get any design awards, of course, but usually when I start on a new project, I just copy and paste this style file that we created, change font and colors, and I'm good to go. So in the next episode, we'll start on the core part of our application, games management.